September 28th, 1998. A day and not a whole lot changed for me and my friends. Like, we were 6. What, you think we were watching E3 waiting for the new games to come out? That was the day Pokemon Red and Blue made its appearance on North American store shelves. Not as impressive as the 20th anniversary, but this one means more to me. For the 20th anniversary, I made a list of my top 10 favorite Pokemon games. And for this date, which is a little closer to home, I'm gonna do a list of my top 10 favorite Pokemon. You like my substitute? You get it? It could be anything! Woo! I already explained in my top 10 Pokemon games video why I like Pokemon Ranger. And while the sequels aren't nearly as good, I still, played them. In the first Pokemon Ranger, you got either a Plusle or a Minun as a partner Pokemon, depending on the gender you chose. The sequel stepped it up a notch with a potential partner of every type. At first glance of the potential partners, I was like, fuck yeah, Gible! I want the Dragon type! But little did I know you don't get Gible till pretty late in the game. What was pretty early in the game, however, was Cranidos. He was definitely better than Starly and Kricketot. It turns out I'd be traveling with him for so long that I started to get attached. I mean, he's a dinosaur. He already gets the brownie points. And while I don't remember if he was particularly useful in the game, I do know he was always there. In fact, when I eventually got Gible, I decided against him in turn for keeping my dino buddy. He even inspired me to try out a Rampardos in competitive play. Don't. Never do that. Also, he's got Cran in his name. If he was a little further up my list, he may have even became a mascot. When they tease a new generation of Pokemon, they tend to show off a few Pokemon beforehand, and while they were teasing Gen 6, Noivern was one of them. I love his slender design and his Wyvern shape. Personally, I'm a huge fan of dragons, and Wyverns are by far my favorite. Wyverns being the dragons that don't have front legs, just back legs and wings. Unless you're Monster Hunter, in which case this counts. And what the actual fuck is that? The only Pokemon on this list that I've never actually used in-game. He is also the only Pokemon as of the time I'm writing this particular sentence that I loved immediately, just based on design enough to draw fan art. Excuse me while I go draw Salandit now. Who remembers their first team in their first run of their first Pokemon game ever? I fucking do. My first game was Pokemon Gold, and my team consisted of Feraligatr, Kingler, because you can never have enough water types it seems, Pidgeot, Fearow, seriously, what the fuck was I doing? Miltank, and Nidoking. Feraligatr was the beef, Fearow flew me places, Pidgeot also did that, Miltank healed my ass, Kingler was also there, and then Nidoking. He was the side of beef to go with my beef. Thrashing around and junk? When grass and electric types were on the rise, he was always there to back me up. I grabbed him initially because I just really liked his design, and I feel he gets overshadowed by better ground types. He feels like a discount Rhydon, but I love him. His nickname wasn't very clever, but it wasn't the worst name on my team. Even to this day when I grab a Nidoking, I still call him Spike. I also remember I taught him Snore, and I had no goddamn idea what I was supposed to do with it, until he just got put to sleep one time, and it was boom bam, there was his time to shine. Oddly enough, this Gen 2 Pokemon didn't join my team until Gen 3. In Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness, in my usual method of find something cool, rotate out the least cool thing I'm using, I just kinda ended up with Ampharos. While I've admired his design, I never thought about using him. Even after looking at his potential, there is very little. But he had a nice typing to cover my weaknesses, and he surprisingly held his own throughout the game. What really else is there to say? He looks like a doof and I fell in love with him. He's terrible and it doesn't matter. Very similar story to Ampharos, and by that I mean it's the goddamn same. Turns out Pokemon XD had a pretty significant impact on my list of favorite Pokemon. Breloom, equally as doofy looking, actually maybe even more, but several times less suck. I enjoyed his design from the start, but I picked Trico and Ruby and Emerald, and I'm not gonna have 2 reptilian grass types on the same team. My apologies to Tropius as well. Finally, he had a place to shine, and boy did he. He was debatably the most useful thing on my team actually. That Mach Punch though, just cleaned up shop. Even now his Poison Heal Toxic Orb strategy, while not his best, is annoying and covers so many bases I just fucking adore it. Third in a row, you guessed it, Pokemon XD. Maybe that's why I like that game so much. The 5th Pokemon on my list is Flygon. While he wasn't the best thing on my team, his good typing and moveset made cleanup a breeze at the end of a messy battle. And I just love his sleek design. Even more than Game Freak, apparently. You know that super cool unique ground dragon we just made that has a nice niche spot in the series? Let's immediately make another one, but better, rendering the old one useless. Hey, we're handing out megas, who needs one? Definitely not Flygon, but his replacement and his main competitor who are already super popular and powerful, they definitely need a boost. Pokemon is really my #1 thing. It has been since it came out. But before that, what was I into? What was Crane's obsession for the first 6 years of his life? Dinosaurs. Of course that dinosaur lover is still within me, and it's that which drew me to Aerodactyl. I always felt like he was unreachable as a kid. Not a common card, not a lot of toys of him. There was only one in the anime. Even in the games, you got him so late, and at such a low level, it just wasn't worth it. It was Pokemon Stadium that I first really tried him. Supersonic, Bite, and he was as frail as dry dog poop. Incredibly useless. There's gotta be something I'm missing. Hyper Beam. He's fast and he's got Hyper Beam. Boom Bam, beautiful. Nowadays I use him to outspeed other taunt users. Remember when I talked about my first Pokemon team ever? Fucking duh! Feraligatr was my first ever starter and the first Pokemon I ever got to level 100. He's bulky, he's got good coverage, he's a fucking bipedal alligator. He's like 7 feet tall. He's just a big ass beefcake stampede of a Pokemon and I'll always love him. In every Pokemon team, chances are you've got a Shouldermon. A Pokemon you keep on your shoulder. Doesn't necessarily have to be good, kind of a mascot of sorts. My second favorite Pokemon of all time is Shuckle. In Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal, you're given a Shuckle by a guy who's worried he'll get stolen after a certain butt munch came by and stole his other Pokemon. Not exactly a campaign-built Pokemon, has a shitty nickname that you can't change, and there's plenty of wild ones to be found in the area. Most people grabbed the free Pokedex filler, threw in the PC, and forgot about him. Even the wild ones can be easily missed if you're not walking the shore bashing rocks. He's absolutely amongst the most forgotten Pokemon out there. And I'm no different. I chucked him aside like a 9-year-old Let's Player asking for a collab. It wasn't until much later, I think the end of high school, is when I really looked at him in a different light. That was around the time it was established that he could inflict the strongest attack in the whole fucking game. Let me find the note. A level 100 impish-natured Shuckle could potentially deal the most damage in one single attack through the use of numerous stat boosters. By receiving the effects of Helping Hand from 2 allies in a triple battle, holding a metronome, then getting skill swap to Color Change and getting hit by Hidden Power Ice, then getting a skill swap to Pure Power, using Power Trick, and having 6 stages of positive attack stat changes. Also, both of Shuckle's partners must have the ability Flower Gift, and the weather must be sunny. On the 5th turn of using a Defense Curl boosted Ice Ball, learned via Mimic, consecutively without any misses, if used against a level 1 Happiny with minimum defense stats and a mild nature with 6 stages of negative defense stat changes, such as from being subjected to Screech 3 times, that has learned Reflect type via Mimic and used it on a Garchomp that is under the effect of Forest's Curse, Shuckle can deal 9,745,645,748 damage with a critical hit. In comparison, the highest HP any Pokemon can have is 714. But a scenario like that will never legitimately happen in a match, so I just stick to Contrary Shell Smash Toxic Stall. So good! My #1 favorite Pokemon shouldn't be a big surprise. I feel like he's a common favorite. In fact, all the people I know personally are probably rolling their eyes right now because they know. I can remember vividly that he was amongst the first 5 Pokemon I ever saw and was an immediate favorite then and hasn't even had competition for the spot since. My all-time favorite Pokemon is...
Hey, do you know the Wi-Fi password?
Charizard.
Oh, thanks.
Since the first time I ever saw him in my friend's Pokemon card binder, he's been kind of an obsession of mine. Using him in-game whenever possible, collecting as much merch as I can afford, even fitting him into school projects. He has no downside for me. His color scheme, his design, he was the biggest asshole in the show. He did what he wanted. He was a badass. And then he turned shit around after Ash earned his respect and whooped ass until he was left to get even more badass. All his best matches were with Charizard. Magmar ain't shit, Articuno got its ass whooped, Entei, not a fucking problem. Literal chaos of the fucking elements, he doesn't care, he's got this. When they added double battles, him and Groudon cleaned house for me for 2 whole generations. Drought boosted Heat Wave, immunity to Earthquake, rapid fire double solar beams. I stopped because it wasn't fair for the developers. They worked hard on these games and I was basically opting not to play them. Looking at him now, is he competitively viable? Doesn't matter! If I'm making a team, he's gonna be on there! And the amount of love he gets is fantastic. He was shit in Brawl, but I still tried. Smash 4 comes along, they just trim the fat and I couldn't be happier. Motherfucking Pokken? Got bored of it pretty quickly, but if there were character usage times, it would be goose eggs across the roster till you hit you-know-who. I like him. A lot. My only regret is I've never been able to find his base set card. I've got the reprint. That card would not only be the crown jewel of my card collection, but the thing I fucking pray to at night. And there you have it, my top 10 and why. Now I notice there's a tag video going around amongst PokeTubers, and frankly, if you're not using your favorites, as far as I'm concerned, you're playing wrong.